Welcome, audience, to the Bookmaster Show. This is actually my first video, and I'm so excited to get into this channel, this series, reviews, just talking about books. I love books. I actually write myself, and it's funny too because I wanted to start this channel after reading this book. I thought it was a great book, so this is my review on it, and I loved it. I was gonna eventually read it because everyone was talking about it. I've actually never watched the movies, just bits and pieces of it growing up, and I don't even remember anything from the movies. So I'm going into these books like fresh and new with a mind not even knowing what's going on, right? So I seen all everyone talking about Harry Potter. They talk about the movies. They're blockbuster movies, right? Great movies from what I've heard. And everyone talks about the movies and the books. And I was like, I love books. I love fantasy. So I was like, let's give it a shot. Let's give it a go. And I picked up the first book. I seen it on sale, and it registered in my mind. Everyone's been talking about it, and I was just like, let's pick it up. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't expecting a lot out of it. I actually thought that going into it, I thought it was going to be overrated. And in my mind, as I'm reading it, I'm just like, I'm going to hate this. I'm going to hate this. Why am I reading this? It's going to be dragging on. It's going to be overrated. And as I'm reading it, about the first 100 pages or so, they're not even at the school yet. They're still setting up Harry's life, and it's dragging on for me. Like the first 100 pages, I'm just like, uh, it's still setting it up, right? And I didn't knock on it. I'm just like, let's just wait till it sets up. So like the first 10, 20 pages, it's about the Dursleys and and Dumbledore and the cat and the teacher. I forgot her name. I'm not good with names. I forgot her name, but McGonagall, I think her name was. And she's this cat, and I'm like, cool. She can turn into cat. She can shapeshift with her magic. I'm like, okay, so this is a brief introduction to magic, to the world of magic. Dumbledore shows up, and they start talking about you know who, and everyone that has talked about Harry Potter, I know who Voldemort is. Not much about him. I just know who the main villain is, Voldemort. So they start talking about you know who. So I'm like, who could they be talking about? And then they mention Voldemort. Okay. And then so they leave Harry with the Dursleys, and then from there it sets up his life with the Dursleys, and then Harry with the anaconda, and then the zoo, and all the brief magical experiences that he's had with his life and things like that. And it's just setting it up Harry's life. And then Hagrid comes in, he takes him to the school, and and just cut to the school. It gets to the hat, to the sorting hat, and that might actually have been my favorite part of the book because everyone that they're getting introduced to their houses and whatnot, and I don't even know too much about the houses. It's just they just talk about that there's four houses, and each house is has its own history, its own great wizards and witches and things like that. And Harry finally puts the hat on, and I like this part because they speak about Slytherin, how it's the greatest house out of the four houses currently. I wouldn't necessarily say of all time, but they speak about it how it's currently the greatest house. And I like that part because Harry, it's going through his mind as the hat's talking to him, and it's telling him, and Harry's telling the hat, don't put me in Slytherin, don't put me in Slytherin, don't put me in Slytherin, no Slytherin. And the hat's just like, you're built for Slytherin, that you would fit well in Slytherin if that's what you want, Gryffindor. And I just like that part to me because all the great mages and things like that, like I said, they won like what, like 6 cups in a row, 6 championships or something like that in a row. and and to know that the main character could have been there, but he passed up on it. I just think that's great. I think the different houses and the series are great, and it's just like Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw. Like, what are they doing? Like they they don't even do anything in the first book. Just like a few Quidditch matches and things like that. So it's like the first book is mostly Gryffindor and Slytherin. So I think that's pretty good though. It doesn't go into too much detail about the other books, and it gives you so much to look forward to in the next books. The first book, honestly, like the first book in a lot of series, it's just setting up the story. I wouldn't necessarily say it's boring, but it doesn't have as much pull as another book would. But the first book for Harry Potter is just it's so good. It's really good, and mostly it's just setting up the world. It's just world building. The first book, and there's seven of them. So I'm like, this does so much with one book, and it's so small, right? So the author Rowling is don't get mad if I butcher the name, but the author Rowling does so much with this one book, sets so much world building with one book, and I think it's great to start with. But one knock, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a knock on the book, is it's kind of like a filler episode when it gets to the mirror and the dragon. I love dragons, but it kind of felt like it was like a side story, like a little side gig. Like, okay, are we setting up something here? And then each piece goes to another piece, and it's like putting a puzzle together. And I think that's pretty good as well. Now, like I said about the houses, I'm not too sure about the houses yet. Like I said, you only know about two mostly right now, and I can't really pick a house. I think Slytherin is a good house. Not necessarily a good house, but they mentioned how Slytherin consists of a lot of dark mages that were with Voldy and came back to the good side. So it's like so Slytherin is like they're trying to change their past, or they're just trying to stay there until Voldy comes back. So they have a little growth there for me. I'm leaning towards Slytherin. I know they're full of rude and mean people, so I'm just I think they have some potential and some character development and growth with that house. So I do like that house. Now Dumbledore, is he a good character or what? Like, he only shows up like three or four times in the book, but when they mention him, when they talk about him like he's a god. Like his character, he doesn't even show up, and his character, you already know so much about the character. Like like when they were going through the card in the train with Ron and Harry, they were talking about how the things that Dumbledore's done and the great wizard that he is, and they were like, "Hey, you know that wizard in the 40s that was like super powerful, like the Dark Wizard? Yeah, Dumbledore beat him." I'm like, "Wait, chill out. You can't just gloss over that." So like Dumbledore, I'm excited to see what he's capable of, what he can do. I really like the character. He's humble, and he's such a great character. He's great. Now, the main villain, not necessarily Voldemort, but the main villain, I forgot his name, the guy with the turban, like he stutters a lot. I knew it wasn't going to be Snape. I just knew it wasn't going to be Snape. It was too obvious. I actually started liking Snape at the end when Dumbledore talked about Snape, how he actually was helping Harry because his father saved him. So there's some history behind that. So I'm interested to learn a little bit about that. But the big reveal of the character, I was kind of like taken back, like, oh, that's him. Okay, I didn't expect that. And Voldy is just such a great. Screen cut off for a second. Okay. Voldy is such a like you don't know too much about Voldy yet. It's just setting it up of Voldy and things like that. So Voldy has some development to go through, and there's 7 books, so it's like if the first book is just world building and it hasn't even touched the surface of the main villain, this is gonna be a good main villain. It's gonna be fun reads. And there's just so much. And another thing is they don't even go through too much of the magic. There's not a lot of magic going on, honestly. It just it talks of here and there. Just it's they're gonna go through so much magic in the further books, and you're just gonna learn more about the magical world, and it's just great. And another thing is they talk about how this is the best school in the magical world. So I'm just interested to know more about the magical world and things like that. Now, as for my favorite characters, I'm going to end off with my characters because I like characters. So Dumbledore, we already talked about Dumbledore. He is my absolute favorite character. How the author set him up without even showing him at all, like just a few scenes of him. Great storytelling, great character development, fantastic. Now he's my favorite. I mentioned Snape. He's kind of a douche, but I kind of like him. He has some growth and some story behind him. So I'm excited to see what what I can read about him in the future. And don't jump through the screen. I don't like him. I think that he could have some character development further into the series. Like, okay, he used to be a bully, and he's growing. He wants to help people and change. I think Draco has some potential as a character. Now, will that happen? Probably not. Probably so. I'm gonna read further, and this book right here is definitely gonna have me reading more. Absolutely, I'm gonna read 1 through 7. I'm reading the whole series after that, after the first one. So I want to see, is Draco gonna turn good, or is he gonna find out about Voldemort? Is he gonna join Voldemort, or is he gonna go the full villain route, or is he gonna change? I'm interested to see how that goes. I really think he has some potential as a character. He'll be fun to read about. Absolutely. I think Harry is just there. I like Harry. I don't hate him. Don't get me wrong. It's Harry. He's the main character, and you already know he's special just because of his last name. He's a Potter. His parents were great mages. He beat Voldemort. I don't know how that happened yet, and that's how he got his scar. So I don't know how that happened yet. Ron's pretty cool. He's all right. And Hermione, I really, really like her. I think I pronounced her name right. I really like her because she was raised in a Muggle family, and then when she found out about the world of magic, she just really buckled down and learned everything she possibly could. Cause everyone that was raised in magical families, they already know about it. They already know how to fly on brooms and things like that. But her, she was raised in a Muggle family, and she just found out about magic. So she's hard at work, grinding, trying to be the very best. And I like that. So I want to see how much she grows as a character. And it's just a great book, and I'm excited to read further into it. That's my take on it. That's my little review. Now, I already got the second one, so I'm excited to get into it. And this series is so good so far that I want to buy the hardcovers for it. I usually am not picky about my books. I like to buy them, read them, and then put them on my shelf. Which I don't have my shelf yet, but I'm getting my shelf set up, everything good to go, which might not be here soon. So don't rush me on that. I'm just starting this channel. I know every booktuber has their amazing shelf behind them. So whatever review I do, I'm gonna do rankings, reviews, and anticipated books that I am excited to read, whether they're already out or they're coming out. So it's not gonna be nothing but fantasy. I'm gonna talk about comics, manga. I don't discriminate on my books or genres. It's gonna be horror, fantasy. I love Stephen King, so there's probably gonna be a lot of Stephen King in the near future. So if you loved this video, go ahead and punch the crap out of that like button and give that subscribe button a hug. Thank you for watching. Till next time.